Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Work Smarter and Lead Stronger podcast with me, Temi Ologbenla. So this is a podcast where we talk about how real leaders build trust, systems, and teams that actually deliver. And on today's podcast, I have a very special friend of mine. His name is Selby. Selby is a seasoned strategic leader, a professional engineer with over 2 decades of experience delivering major capital projects. And when I say major, I mean major, from healthcare to government to critical infrastructure. But Shelby, you've done like at least $3 billion worth. And that is like, we're downplaying it and stuff.
It goes fast. The money goes fast.
It does go fast. So he's currently a director of project delivery at Infrastructure Ontario. And so that's where he manages over $3 billion worth of public work projects. So where all our tax money is going, Shelby's taking care of it, which is great. It's in good hands. He also mentors teams, manages risk, and pushes innovation forward. Like when it comes to innovation, Shelby for sure is the man. So Shelby, I don't know how he has time when he's done managing $3 billion worth of projects. He also has a professional engineering degree. He's a PMP. He has a pro-site change management practitioner, and Shelby's also pursuing an MBA in the midst of it all. Oh, but wait, there's more. When he's not doing all of that, he's also a mentor and he's also a volunteer youth coach. So, and Shelby loves soccer, right?
Among
Yes.
others, I'm a big sports guy. I'll tell you about
You're
it.
a big sports
We'll
freak.
talk.
But I want to know all the games and all the sports. Some I probably don't know about, but still. So, Selby, welcome to the show. Honestly, I am so glad you're here. So let's start, right? I just want you to tell us about like systems. Let's talk about systems, right? So when you're starting your week as a leader, what systems or habits do you find keep you productive when you're managing your billions of dollars in infrastructure?
So, Temi, first, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Thanks for just bringing me out and talking about some of the things we're going to talk about. I'm pretty excited about that.
I am
So,
excited too.
so systems and things that are in place on a weekly basis. I'm not a big spreadsheet guy, but having
No.
trackers and keeping track of things and conversations, I find is important for me because the
No.
memory is starting to wane. When you're kind of doing a bunch of different things, it's good to jot things
Yeah.
down. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
having a tracker of even just simple conversations about personal things, when you
Mm.
look back on it, it's easier to have those conversations and have those meetings. So that's
Mm-hmm.
first off. And
That's
then
awesome.
it's
Like a little.
some of the other things is having those meetings. I know some people and some organizations, they like the structure of having those recurring meetings or those things in place.
Mhm.
I have to say I like that as well. However, I do like the impromptu meetings. If
Mm.
there's virtual messenger or Teams or
Mhm.
whatever organizations to use, like if
Mhm.
there's casual conversations like that, just keeping in contact with people and just making sure that
Yeah.
the relationship is continually built from Monday to Friday. Because as
That's
the week
awesome.
goes, there's ebbs and flows and stresses that are happening, but having
Mhm.
that underlying communication kind of protocol in place, if it's
Mm.
recurring meetings or informal channels, those are some of the things like.
Really great. So when you're saying you're keeping track of like the conversations and stuff, right? Is it like a paper-based system or is it more like an electronic, like how are you doing them?
So that's a good question because I guess I'm from an era that has uses both. So I can't
Mm-hmm.
say I'm a huge tech guy where I'll sit there and I'll be on OneNote on my phone or
Mm-hmm.
on the
Mm-hmm.
computer. However, I do realize the tremendous benefit of having that at your fingertips so you don't lose
Mm-hmm.
it and it's always there. So it depends on the circumstance. I am still a pen and paper person because I can jot
Mm.
down notes all over the place where I'm not
Yes.
structured in kind of a box. So
I,
it
I
depends
know
on the
what you
meeting.
mean.
So like if I'm really in note taking mode where I need to catch every detail, will use pen
Mm-hmm.
and paper. But I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
if we're having a casual conversation or kind of a meeting that's going back and forth, and I have a little bit
Mm.
more time, I'll use OneNote and then I'll just jot some things.
That's fair. It's good to, I mean, why not? We have so many different formats we can use. Why not use them all?
Technology is great. There's
Yeah.
other tools out there that I might experiment with, but for now, those are
Mm,
the two.
the two, yeah. I like both too. I do love my notebooks, physical and electronic, but especially physical, like paper based. So, Shelby, you oversee a lot of people and a ton of moving parts, right? What's your process for aligning a team across a shared goal?
So that's a good question. And this happens a lot when you're managing cross-functional teams, and then you also have
Mm-hmm.
direct reports because
Yeah.
goals and competing priorities across business units, even though you're in the same organization, tends to happen a lot. So keeping
Mm-hmm.
everyone together, kind of focused, I think the one thing I try to emphasize, even if it's in meetings or we're having
Mm,
discussions, is to really establish that we do have the same goals. And that's kind of what we
mm,
start with is like, what are we trying to achieve?
mhm,
As soon as everyone has the collective and their mindset is set on that, then we kind of dive into the details of what we're trying to achieve at that
mm,
moment or in the short term. It's really just bringing back everybody. What is our goal?
mhm,
Because you can lose
mhm,
sight of it. Once you get into the details. Some of the projects that I've done or that are coming up can be very
mm,
technical in nature. And you get lost in the
mm,
details. Sometimes you got to pull people out to say, hey, what are we
mhm,
trying to do? Um,
mhm,
we're trying to bring value to the citizen. We're trying to build
mhm.
something big here. That's what we try to focus on.
That's really good. I know you don't want people speaking different languages, right? When billions of dollars is at stake.
Money is money. You always got to make sure that people have the right frame of mind and they're
Mm.
not ready to spend the dollars they don't have yet.
So can you share a time when some you seem to be very big on like communicating, which is really good, right? I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes it's really even good to over communicate. It might be over communicating to someone, but somebody else, they're just hearing it for the first time, even though you said it 30 times, right? So can you share a time where over communicating helped avoid a major issue before it happened?
So this is a good question. So the term over communicating. I
Mm,
used to work in an organization where that was the buzzword and everyone, management, senior, middle, lower,
yeah.
that's all they'd say all the time is you got to over communicate. You got to repeat the message over and over again.
Uh,
And what I found is the more you say it, the more it kind of goes in and then it just comes out. And it's also
Interesting.
how you're delivering the message. So whenever they said that, I would go back to my team and be like, over communication, sure, I get it, I understand it, but
Yeah.
let's try to effectively communicate so that the message isn't lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in some situations where you kind of tell someone to do something over and over again
Mm-hmm.
and they lose really what that means or
Yeah.
why it
Yeah.
matters, then they tend to do the opposite of what you told them to do. And they're like, but we just didn't understand it, even though you told them a million times. But that's where the
And you're like, I told
effectiveness
you a
comes in.
hundred times.
That's where the effectiveness comes in. So when I'm
Yeah.
communicating something important and it's something that people have to follow, first thing is why? Why are we doing this? And why does it matter to you? And once we establish that, then you kind of use different channels to spread the message. It is over
Mm,
communicating maybe in a certain aspect, but it's
yes.
effectively dropping it so that it's not just going in the ear. Maybe they're seeing
Mhm.
it, maybe they're reading it, they're hearing it. Many different ways to get that message.
I love that you mentioned what's in it for them. It's so important, right? Because I think that just helps it to stand out, the message to stand out, right? Not just another, oh, okay, whatever, this is plain. Okay, I don't care. You know what I mean? It doesn't affect me, right? But then when you're tying it in, and I love that you also said effective communication, right? So somebody can over communicate, but if it's not effective or it's the wrong message or it doesn't provide value, then you're just seeing a whole lot of things for no reason, right? So it's really good that you're tying in the effective piece to it.
For sure,
That's
and, I
great.
just one thing to add to that is if people don't understand how it affects them, even if you're doing it in an effective manner, they kinda tune out because it's like,
Mm,
I'll listen when it's applicable to me
exactly.
and when there's something for me. So, y
Yeah, which is fair, human nature. And when it comes to leadership and, even just project delivery, timing matters, right? So how do you know when to step in and when to step back and let your team just run with it?
So for this one, I'd have to say it's a work in progress. A lot of times when I need to step in or I don't need to step in, it's really understanding the individual or the situation.
Mhm.
There's certain people that I work with that I kind of say, you know what, I should probably step in, but I want them to feel it out. It's not so
Mm,
much pushing them to failure, but it's also to push them to see if they can get out of the situation. It's also a bit of a risk measurement on how much can we stomach together. Can that person afford to maybe take a hit, lose something, or like there's many different aspects of that.
yeah.
And it's the same with me is how much can we mitigate the damage if something
Mhm,
really so
mhm.
it's kind of an understanding on the individual or the circumstance to see when to. And then it's also to see if there's opportunity for that person to grow, or maybe it's a stretch where, hey, you know what, figure it out. I know you can. I got confidence in you. Now let's see you
Yeah.
do it.
I love that. I love that. It's true. And that's great coaching. I don't want to baby you so much. I know you have these skills inside of you. Sometimes people might not even see the skills, and we're the outsiders are the ones that can see what they're capable of, right? So that is a very great one. Great coaching. And with you working across multiple sectors and backgrounds, what have you learned about leading people across different cultures?
So this is a really good question. So one of my previous roles very
Mm,
recently, I had to work remotely, but the team was
mhm,
spread across the US. So
Yeah.
US, Canada, I know they're neighboring countries,
Mhm.
share a
Mm.
lot of media. Feels like it's the same, but it's actually not.
No.
Culturally, even across the states, there's different mentalities and different kind of
100%.
values. There's just a lot of different things happening. So it was a very challenging circumstance for me.
Mm,
But to manage the team and also to interact with them, it took a lot. It took a bit of a learning curve for me
mm,
to really get to know them. That's what
mm,
helped. Because if I tried to dive in and be like, "You know what? This is how we do it here, and this is how I am," and
mhm.
force you to be like that, that was a recipe for disaster. So,
100%. Yeah.
in that situation, it may have taken a little bit longer, but I had to understand where they were coming from.
Mm,
And I mean, for me, I got to learn a few different cultures. I got to
that's
learn how
cool.
things are and different perspectives. It
Yeah.
was a growing experience for me as well, but also a challenging one. It was tough at times.
A really good mark of a mark of a good leader is, being willing to grow, right? Knowing that, you know what, I don't know everything and I'm willing to learn. So I love that, you still tie that in. You're like, you know what? This is a new space for me. I'm learning just as much as they're learning, right? They're learning about the work culture, you're learning about them. So that's really good. It's a good way to build culture too, right? That kind of transparency to the end of that, okay, you know what? This leader is not a bad person. I like him, right?
It
I
took
want
a
to
bit of
be
time
around.
for that, though. They weren't convinced on day one,
Of course. No, it takes time, right?
for sure.
Trust, it takes a lot of time to build trust. So when it comes to high pressure, do you guys have high pressure seasons or is it just like constantly crazy?
So it mostly is constantly crazy, but the
Mm,
summer months is when you actually get to do stuff because of the weather. With the Canadian climate is it's tough to do stuff in the winter. So they try to jam it in from spring to fall and it's a pressure cooker because people want to go on vacation. They want to do things with their family, but that's when you do the work as well. So yes, it is a very, very busy season.
I can imagine. So how do you keep your team connected and motivated during such seasons?
So I think you take a step back from work. So if you've been
Mm,
working the full day and maybe we're on
mhm,
site and it's a construction site, it's 40 degrees outside, maybe that's a good time at 5 or 6 o'clock to take a step
mhm,
back. Maybe
mhm.
you go have a bite to eat, grab a drink,
I was
kind of
thinking of popsicle.
decompress. Yeah. Do something else. Get your mind off it so that the next day you feel a little more refreshed
Yeah, yeah.
and you can refocus. Taking
Mm,
those breaks, I think, is important, especially when you're in the thick of just immense
yeah.
work. It's just good to
Mhm.
just kind of take a step back.
Yes. No, that is so true. And hats off to all the construction workers and people that have to work outside in the heat. The firefighters. Oh my goodness. When I see these people out, I'm like in my car with my AC on, driving by. I always feel so bad. But yes, thank you for all your hard work. You're listening. We appreciate you. We appreciate the work you're doing. So, shall we're gonna move to rapid fire. Quick answers. It doesn't worry. If don't worry if it's not quick. Try to what your gut reactions are gonna be. If you do want to think about it, that's fine. Right? So the first question, you ready?
I think so. Is there a buzzer? Do I get to hit a buzzer?
No. So Shelby, what's the first thing you do when you feel overwhelmed?
So I think I answered this one. So I have to tell you, in my workspace when I'm at home is in the basement, so I don't have windows. So if I'm overwhelmed, I will run upstairs and go outside, take a deep breath. If I can't do that and I'm in a meeting, there's a little trick that I learned from I can't remember where, but if you
Okay.
touch your fingertips, it
Oh,
refocuses your mind away from
interesting.
all of the overwhelming stuff that's happening to your simple touch.
So like a mini
But no one has
violin.
to see it. You can kind of hide it
I know,
and
right?
roll
Not
with
in a
the
camera. Like, what is he doing?
beat.
Oh my goodness, that was so funny. But that's a great tip. If people don't have, they don't have the chance to go outside, they can just maybe under their desk or something.
Yeah.
Do something similar. Shelby's like, please do it under your desk.
Yeah, don't do it on the screen.
Maybe people might not hear the first part. They'll be like, okay, do it on the screen. Got it.
A lot of hands showing.
Right? You're like, what is going on? So the next question, what is the most useful soft skill you have in your leadership stack?
So this one is listening. So my first
Mm,
instinct, people who know me, is probably not to talk. I like to listen. So it's that kind of listening, but active listening. So I'm
mhm.
not just falling asleep and with my eyes dazing out. I am actually listening, and I like to ask questions too. So, but I'm usually not the first one to talk.
It's really good. Really important. Active listening. I love that. So we're talking about this one. I'm just talking to the audience now, Shelby, but before we started recording, Shelby and I had a little chat. And so this question, I feel like it's probably going to be one of my favorite answers from him. So Shelby, let's talk about your biggest meeting pet peeves. Don't worry, this doesn't have to be short answer. I want to hear it all.
Okay, I might have more than one. I might have more than one.
Bring it on.
So the first one in virtual meetings, pet
Mm,
peeve is when people don't have their cameras on. I
mm,
know it's network connecting and all of this other stuff, I get it, but you just the body language and being able to see someone, it goes
mhm,
so there's so much value in it. And
100%.
I know
Yeah.
technology is great and we don't have to be in the same room, but if I can
Mhm.
see you and we can kind of smile and laugh or frown and be
Yeah.
upset, at least you can
Mhm.
see it. So that's my first one, turn your camera on. The second one I'd say is, and this is in person, virtual, whatever it is, it's just coming to the meeting focused. Let's have something to talk about.
Mm,
Free conversations is good for the water cooler or just to
mhm.
catch up. I like those too. Those are great. But if we're in a business setting and we're working, let's use our time effectively, just blow off an hour and a half just rambling about
Mm.
that's number 2. I'll leave it at that. Those are that's it.
Any
That's it.
more? I think we might need a special episode just for your pet peeves.
Yeah, I do have a few others, but I'll leave it at
You
that.
know? But I love them. Those are really great. You're right. It's so good to have your camera on. So let's say you're coaching someone or something. Like, how would you know if the person understands or doesn't if they don't have their camera on? You can't read their body language. So it's really great. But yeah, so people, please listen. If you're gonna work with Shelby, make sure you have your camera on. Okay. And make sure you know you're focused. So how do you like the team back? So if you find out, let's say you're joining a call and then you find that okay, people are just chatting away about everything but the work that they need to get done. So how do you pull the team back?
I think it's part of the focus of the meeting. If at the
Mm,
beginning of the meeting, if we come with a buzzword, an agenda, then we have some pointed things to talk about. And if it
yeah.
goes on a tangent, you can always bring it back. Now, you don't have to call it an agenda. We could just
Mhm,
have a couple bullet points and say,
mhm.
this is what we need to discuss or get there.
Yeah, the
And
purpose.
then
Yeah.
when it goes in all of the different directions, you just point them back and say, we're on
Yeah.
bullet point 2. I find it works. It may not be the best for everybody because 'cause they're like, I don't wanna see what you're gonna talk about," but it helps for the facilitator to
Yeah. Mhm. I agree. And honestly, if someone's worried that you know, they don't know how to say it in a nice way, or maybe they're not in a high enough leadership position like Shelby is that they can just be like, hey guys, let's focus on the meeting. You can also just be like, oh, let's park this
yeah,
discussion, right?
for sure.
So,
Yeah, that's
let's
a
park
good
this
one too.
discussion so people kind of get the message that, okay, we need to focus on the meeting. But it's very important, like Shelby said, to have an agenda. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. It doesn't have to have, 10 headings and, 20 subheadings. Just the purpose of the meeting. So everyone's aligned. It's really good. It's gold. Don't have a meeting without an agenda if you're listening to this. If you're one of my followers, please. If you're a follower of mine and you're having a meeting without an agenda, we need to talk. I will help you. I will coach you through it. So, when it comes to recurring meetings, are you a fan of it or are you not?
So I am a fan. I do like having regular contact if it's with team members or with other teams. I think when you lose the recurring nature of a meeting,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
can lose touch and people tend to forget
Mm,
and they
mhm,
may even forget about you. So it helps to build a
mm,
relationship as well. Constant communication, constantly seeing people, I think is a good thing. It's just the frequency of when you meet. So
mm,
that's the thing you got to work on. Too much is too much, too little is too little, so there is a sweet spot where, depending on what you're meeting for, that it's good to have something in the calendar. Something to look forward to too.
yes, so true. So not necessarily, so you don't want a 1 hour daily meeting. Recurring 1 hour every day. I mean, let's say, I mean, you work with projects, but I'm guessing you do more waterfall since it's like construction based, right? You can't really be agile, I guess, unless you're doing like phases. But I guess if somebody's working on a project, they can do stand-ups, right? And then that could be recurring daily. Just don't make sure it's not like if you're doing a daily recurring meeting, guys, make sure it's a short one, like a quick touch point, 10, 15 minutes max, right? And also the kind of meetings where you get to the point. There's no need to talk about the weather in those type of meetings.
For sure. Yes, those 3-hour marathon meetings every day, that's a no-no.
I bet you get lots of meeting invites being an executive. What's your personal rule for saying yes to a meeting invite?
Okay, so this is a good question. Before I hit accept, first I have to
Mm,
see if it's conflicting with something else. Because although people
mm,
can see your calendar, they don't actually see your calendar. Sometimes they force their way through. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing is kinda look to see if there's an agenda or some points to talk about,
mhm,
and do am I gonna add value to that discussion? If there's no value, then I might message the person on the side
mhm.
and say, "Am I required? Because you can put me
Yeah.
as optional." And if I have that
Uh-huh.
option and I don't need to attend and I can't add value, or maybe me listening doesn't benefit anybody, then I might pass. But if I can check off even like 2 or 3 of those boxes, I will
Mhm.
attend. You see how I can contribute.
That's really good. Yeah. Time is such a valuable asset. I think people just sometimes forget it, right? I know sometimes people are like, oh, I want to invite as many people just to make sure I cover my bases. But people need to step back. Like when I'm training, because I train on meetings, right? Meeting workshops, effective meeting. So people need to step back sometimes and be like, okay, what's the point of the meeting? You don't start with the booking of the people. You start with the point, the purpose of the meeting. Then based on the purpose of the meeting, you know who to invite. And sometimes, yes, it's okay to have what I call observers, but depending on the type of meeting. So let's say it's something that requires HR to listen in or legal or something, but not just, hey, I'm just going to CC my, or include my boss in it because I love to have my boss in. Your boss is
You want
busy,
them to know you're having a meeting.
right? Your boss is aware. Don't worry. They trust you. So are you team email or team instant messenger, Shelby?
I think instant message. I kinda like that better,
Mm.
especially when you're living
Uh-huh.
in a virtual world. It's almost like if you're sitting beside someone, you can tap them on the shoulder if they're not too busy. And I do like the impromptu kinda, "Hey, I got a
Mhm.
question," or, "Can we talk about this?" And instant
Uh,
messaging allows that. The email
uh,
is it can be a little drawn out, and it's hard to articulate everything you wanna say in the email, set up the meeting. If you can do it through instant messenger, why not?
why not? And tell me, I'm trying not to laugh as I'm about to ask this question because I can just imagine your reaction, but what's the worst advice you've ever heard about leadership?
Okay. There's a couple. I'm trying to digest which one should I say? So I told you one already about the over communicating. That one I already shared with you. I think the other one might be it's kind of my way or the highway. Like I'm
Mm,
telling you to do this and you don't really have much say or any input
mhm.
into it. I think
Yeah.
I've had leadership advice where it's like your subordinates should be subordinates and you should just kind of dictate what you want. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's really effective.
Yeah, you're like, "Thanks for the advice, but no,
Like I'm like,
I'm not
I'll
gonna take
try it.
it."
I tried it. It didn't work too
Yeah,
well. I'd
yeah,
prefer the and remove the power position and kind of level it out a bit.
that's really good, and I guess did you find that your team became more open, like, when you became more personable?
100%, and I think it's trust too. Like, once they say, "You know what? I get to speak and I get to provide input," okay, this is a different conversation. Now I'm a little bit more willing to do what is required or what we're trying to talk about, so I think there's many benefits to it. It just allows people to just be part of it, which is, I think, what everyone wants, including myself.
So true, I mean, isn't that why you hired people anyway, to contribute? If not, you would just have hired machines.
Hopefully, we don't do.
Don't wanna give anybody ideas, please. Hire people. What's one question you always ask in your one-on-ones?
Okay, so another good question. So I kind of gave a little bit of this away already.
Mhm,
So this is a bit of a cheat code. But when I'm in a meeting with people, sometimes the beginning of the meeting, especially if it's a one-on-one or a touch point,
mhm,
we're not actually talking about work. We're just kind of
mhm,
getting to know each other,
mhm,
even
mhm,
if we know each other. So
yeah,
what I try to do is I catch a personal thing that's happening in that person's life.
mhm,
So I don't know, let's say they're moving and
mhm,
it's coming up on the weekend, but I know we're going to meet again on the Tuesday or Wednesday the following week. I'll make a note to jot that down because again, memory's not the greatest, but at least I'll have an opportunity to say, you know what? How did the move go? How was life
mm,
going? How was
mm,
everything outside of what we're going to talk about?
mhm.
How is it? How's it going? Now it changes per person. It's not the same question because it really depends on the situation.
Yeah, that is so powerful though. And it shows you care. For you to take that time, even just to jot it down, first of all, just shows that, you care about your employees and that you remember that they're human beings with families and lives. So I can imagine how an employee would feel, right? When, they're about to have a one-on-one, especially sometimes people feel nervous during such meetings. And then their manager starts with, how's the move going? Or how's your kid? I remember you said he wasn't feeling well or something. So that is really powerful. Great, great hack. So what's one trait you admire most in leaders that you look up to?
I think it's the leaders that allow the room to
Mm,
speak your mind, maybe to provide some input, and even just
mhm,
to reflect on it. Even if what you're saying may not be right for the situation, or maybe you're looking at a different angle, it's
mhm,
just allowing that room for you to express yourself and be
yeah,
part of the situation. I've had leaders who come into the room, I know what they're going to talk about. It may not be a good conversation, but they don't start with that. And they kind of say, why don't you start? Why don't you talk about what's happening? And then the conversation just kind of goes more organically than I'm talking to you, and this is what we have to deal with, and none of them leaves.
And that's it.
Yes, it's kind of just making conversation than more of a one-way conversation.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be a box. So, can you tell our audience one thing that leaders can do this week to build more trust with their team?
I would say, okay, to build more trust, I would
Yes.
say start with something positive that they've done well and really emphasize it. So it could be
Mm,
the smallest thing that seems so insignificant, but the fact that you recognize it and you know
yeah.
that they did it, it just kind of makes everyone feel good about it. And it
Yeah.
just kind of promotes that trust because
Mm-hmm.
you recognize it, I did it, now I feel good,
Yeah.
you feel good. Now let's do the bigger stuff now. So
Uh-huh.
I
That
would
is
say,
really good.
yes, if you could do it, if you could start with something, one positive thing,
I
and then
love
two
that.
after that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, even better. At least one, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
one's the minimum.
Yeah, like at least look for something each day that you can compliment your team on. That is really good. You just saved a team. You didn't even know it, Shelby. Someone's employee was thinking of leaving until you got to work the next day. Seriously, you never know, right?
For sure. That it's as small as that, right? That can keep someone in
Yes.
their seat or maybe even motivate them to do something better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So true. Shelby, oh my goodness, it's been such an honor. Thank you so much for a thoughtful and grounded conversation. Your leadership, like, experience really, it's just so admirable. I enjoy talking to you, learning. So I've learned so much about you from this conversation, about the work you do, right? You're so skilled at building trust and you're so skilled at structure. Like you're really good at coming into places and just building that structure while also maintaining the trust, right? Because, it can be hard when you're changing something and you're coming to a team, you're changing things up, but then Shelby, you're able to balance building up that structure, but also maintaining the trust, which is invaluable. And I'm so glad to call you friend. Special shout out on the podcast. So can you please tell the audience where they can find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to find
Mm-hmm.
me. Feel free to message me or just shoot me a
Yeah.
connection request.
Let's connect.
I think that's the
Yeah.
best way.
Awesome. And I'll also include Shelby's LinkedIn URL in the show notes so that it's easy for people to find you. So, Shelby, it's been an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Work Smarter and Lead Stronger. So, until next time, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.